Hello, welcome to Unit 4. We're going to talk a little bit about application of what we've learned so far in this unit. So the first thing we're going to talk about a little more, I know we've discussed it last in section 3 and we also have tested on it a little bit, but I want to talk to you, this is super important when you're in imports, about the United States Customs Border Patrol entry process. So this is on your test. I didn't give you a gold star, but this is definitely on your test. The importer of record is going to file those documents with the goods with the port director at the goods port of entry. So when they come into the airport or when they come into the port, like the Port of Houston, there's going to be someone who's going to file those with the port director. And this is what's on your test. Imported goods are not legally entered until, we talked a little bit last week about liquidation and all that. This is a summary of that. The shipment has arrived within the port of entry. So arrived is going to be the word I'm looking for on the test. It has to be arrived or received within the port of entry. Delivery of the merchandise has been, and we need to have the word authorized by the CBP, and estimated duties have been paid. So it is the importer of record's responsibility to make sure that all these things are taken care of. They need to make sure that somebody can inspect them and somebody can get them received. So I want to make sure you're crystal clear on this process. So you might wonder, why does the Customs Border Patrol organization or agency need to examine goods? And it's a lot of reasons. First of all, we don't want anything illegal coming into our country. But we have to make sure that if I say that it's computer monitors, I don't ultimately find out that it's television sets because they're tariffed in a different way. We need to find out if we have a country of origin situation and if they're marked properly, if there's anything that's illegal or prohibited that's being imported in or dangerous, making sure that the goods are invoiced properly, that the quantities are correct, and that there's nothing obviously illegal like narcotics, guns, something like that that would be included in the shipment. So those entry documents, we talked a little bit about it last time, but within 15 days, they have to be filed. These are the forms that you're looking at, the 7533, the 3461, and they are evidence of right to make entry. This means that I have followed all the rules and I have the right to enter these goods into the country. A commercial invoice, a pro forma invoice, if there needs to be a packing slip or a packing list. I think I told you when we did our packing list exercise, you can call it a packing slip, you can call it a packing list, they're both the same. And then there's anything else that we have to have in there because there may be something that's specific, if it's medical or if it's something military, something like that, there may be some other documents. So you have 10 working days, which turns out to usually be 15 calendar days because of the weekends. Okay, this is on your test as well. I asked you to give me some of these. So there are 12 here. I think I asked you on the exam for 3 of them. Ways to expedite clearance to make sure that your goods get through as quickly and as easily as possible. You want to make sure all the information that's required is on your customs invoice. Make sure that everything's clear and typed. Make sure that your invoices contain all the information that would be shown on a well-prepared packing list. You want to mark and number everything. So it should say box 1 of 24, box 2 of 24, so that they know there should be 24 boxes and which one this box is. You want to show a detailed description of what's in each individual package. So if one package has, let's say all the packages have 12 parts inside except one, the very last box only has 10, you want to mark that. You want to make sure the country of origin is labeled. You want to make sure that there's anything that is food or alcohol or anything that's specifically regulated. Make sure that your goods are marked properly and that all the forms that you need are there. You want to make sure that you've got your security procedures at your facility and that everything is set up so that there's no way that someone could smuggle narcotics into your shipment because you're going to be liable for that. You want to consider participating in the AMS, which is the Automated Manifest System. And if you use a broker, you want to make sure that you consider using a firm that participates in that automated broker interface, which is a computer system that allows all this to be done electronically. So that's a lot of information, but you need to be able to come up with 3 of these for the test. This is an example of a commercial invoice and a regular invoice. So I just wanted you to see kind of what these look like. In this case, we're bringing in golf shoes, we're bringing in one package that has one unit and the value is $29.99. It's being sold to the same person that it's shipped to, and that person would be Janice Fields at 110 Arthur Avenue in Peterborough, Ontario in Canada. So I just want to make sure you know how to read this. Take a look at it if you need more time. If I asked you to identify the airway bill number, you can see that's right here in the top. It starts with 797. The invoice number is labeled right here. The contact name of who exported it and where it came from. All of this is marked off very clearly. It's typed. There's no mistakes. There's no cross-outs. Everything is clear. This is a very good commercial invoice. So some other tips. Familiarize yourself with the procedures and the policies. If you don't know what they are, get some help. And I'm going to show you some places that you can get some help, but definitely a customs broker would be a good place to start. If there's anything that you're exporting that is got special regulation, you want to make sure you're compliant with that. Order packing and proper invoicing go hand in hand. So it's very good if you say, I'm going to say in this box there are 12. In this pallet there are 144. I mean, if you just keep things consistent, makes it a lot easier. And as I just said earlier, but if a package contains a good of one kind, or if there's something that is uniform, you want to make sure the designation for the examination is a lot easier. So if I'm going to ship 12 boxes of 12 of the exact same thing, that one packing slip, it makes it a lot easier. If you have 6 boxes on a pallet and each one contains something different, it's difficult for them to match that invoice to the correct box. So you want to package things in a uniform way. We talked about this a little bit, but the most important thing that you need to understand about informed compliance is the concept of reasonable care. And reasonable care just means that you are doing what a reasonable person would do to make good decisions and be informed about what the rules are. You can't say, imagine if a policeman stopped you on the highway and said, hey, the speed limit was 50 and you were driving 80. You can't say, well, I didn't know. That's not an excuse. It's your responsibility as a driver on the road to know what the speed limit is. And if you're not sure, to drive at a reasonable speed, what a reasonable driver would do. You shouldn't be driving 80 if everyone else on the highway is driving 50. This is exactly the same concept here. The CBP makes these rules. It's expected that you, if you are importing, you will know what those rules are, how they apply to you, if you have a special regulatory requirement that you have to comply with, all those things, and that you're going to exercise what they refer to as reasonable care, which means you're being prudent in how you're operating your business and making sure that you are complying with all of the regulations that are important to your business. So as I said, if you need help, there are many places. In Houston, we're lucky because we have actually a center of excellence for the CBP that we can get help from here in Houston, because Houston is such a big port. If you look at these locations, you can see starting at the bottom, Houston, obviously we're a big port. Laredo is on the list because of a lot of things that cross the border in Laredo from Mexico to the United States. Going west, San Francisco and Los Angeles are both big ports for apparel, footwear, textiles, electronics, things that are coming from Asia and India, kind of that part of the world, Eurasia, we call it. Chicago is a port city to get things in and out of Canada, as well as through the Great Lakes, just like Detroit is, just like Buffalo is. And then New York is a huge hub for things coming from Europe. And Atlanta, one of the largest airports in the world, is a big place where they bring a lot of consumer products in and mass merchandising, things that are going like to places like Walmart or Walgreens or things like that. That is the end of chapter 4. We'll review chapter 5 and then we'll get ready for the test.